Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming through to this video. Today we're going to be colouring in with acrylics. This I've called her Mushroom Fairy House. So she comes from my book Learn to Draw Step by Step Fairies, where you can see you literally are shown step by step how to draw everything in the book. We have also done all of the videos on YouTube, so you can pop along to the channel and you'll see all of these drawn out for you step by step. That was one from the last one. It was summer in September. We've had fairies for October. November is going to be Christmas and December is going to be winter. So all the drawings are done. The book is available on Amazon or my website or through Patreon, and on Patreon you get extra bonus videos. So on YouTube we have all of the drawings done, but also I do show you how to paint them in watercolours and acrylics and colour pencils and pastel pencils. This one is going to be acrylic today. We have done, I'll just go through them all the watercolours. Some of them are on YouTube, some of them are on Patreon. I aim for 3 on YouTube a week and 3 on Patreon a week. So you get bonus ones over there. Let's pop her the right way up. I've just completed some acrylic ones. So that's the Magic Wand one, which is a level 1. That was the Magic Castle, which is a level 2. And yeah, so I show you how to draw. I try and teach you how to draw, and then we move on painting those drawings and bringing them to life. So yeah, that's everything, I think. Let's get started. I like to start these sessions. I want them to be fun. So we'll just start with a nice positive card from our stack of, it's called Positive Power Cards. So the first one is, I will cherish my life's achievements. Focus on what you've achieved so far. It's a lot more than you think. Very important message, okay? Think of all the things that you've done and you forget about them. You're so busy just getting on with life, and actually you've done more than you think. So focus on those. Focus on those. Okay, so let's get started. I think we'll have a nice blue background. So all I'm going to do, I try to make sure that you only have to use the main primary colours. So red, yellow, blue. You'll need a black and a white. Sometimes we use a brown. So those are the only ones you really need to make sure you have, because all of the other colours we can make from there. Now the background we are going to do is a blue. I just want to get some more white out onto my tray. Now you can't see my big tray. I have a big Stay Wet palette where I just put out all the primary colours. I do some mixing on there, but then I do my actual mixing on here so I can show you on my smaller tray what I am doing. So I'm popping in a little bit of ultramarine blue, but a lot of white. Okay, because I want a really nice light background for the sky that's behind those clouds. And I do not, ultramarine blue is quite a vibrant colour, it's quite strong, so we do need a lot of white to push that back to give us a nice light blue. Okay, now this is a brush that I tend to just use for mixing. It does help if you have one that you like for mixing that you don't actually use for painting anymore. Maybe it's not so much of a good brush. I actually like this one to mix with, but also to paint sometimes my backgrounds with, because it does hold a lot of paint and I can really push in the paint into the background and get the tooth of the paper really filled in. So if you know what I mean by the tooth of the paper, basically it's the lumps and bumps on the paper that help to hold whatever medium it is you're putting on there. Now I am going to go quite carefully around my drawing. Very often I'll paint the whole background and then I'll go over and do whatever I want to paint on top. But because we have quite a detailed picture, this is a level 4 drawing out of the book, that we need to try and keep her nice and clean, nice and clear for us to paint however we want. We don't really want to have to layer on too many colours over her. There we go. So just using my brush, this is just a round, a middle-sized round. It's an older one, but as I say, for the background I don't mind too much. Make sure you're putting water on to help the paint move around. If you're not using enough water, you'll find that the paint's just not pushing around very easily. Okay, because it is acrylic, it can get sticky. Well, I call it sticky anyway, you know, when it's just, you'll know. and it's too dry and there's not enough water, it doesn't like to push around. There we go. I'm just coming in around all of the detail of the drawing, trying to be as careful as possible. Don't worry too much because we can tidy up the edges later, but do try and stay clear of her if you can. Okay. Okay. I'm literally just filling in my background. You could use a bigger brush, but if you used a bigger brush, you'd need to use a smaller one to go around your painting, because, as I've said, it doesn't matter too much if you go over the edges, but we do want to keep the design as clear as possible. There we go. And it's quite nice to have some of those brush strokes in. I mean, we will come over and do a second layer because this acrylic paper really does have quite a bit of tooth to it, and we don't really want to see too much of that. Okay, so we've done basically a full layer of acrylic for the background. Now we need to start on, I think I want to start with the mushroom itself, because the mushroom is quite traditionally, mushrooms in a fantasy land, they're always red, aren't they, with black spots on them. So we're going to use the red, but I am going to, all I've done there is I've used red and blue to make a deeper, darker red for shadows. And then my normal red there, I like the red as it is. But if we also come in and get some red and get a bit of white, we can come in and make a lighter colour red as well. It's slightly lighter. I'd like it a bit more lighter. Just keep going. It does become pinky, but that's fine. And then we have three different. We have our mid-range, our darker, and our lighter. Okay, so I'm putting away that brush now. That's my mixing brush. And I'm going to come in with, I like to paint mainly with angled brushes. So I'm going to wet that down. We don't want it too wet, just enough. And because this is our mid-tone red, we're going to go for the actual red as it comes out of the bottle. And we're going to go in and fill in the mushroom top. Now, because it's an angle brush, you can get nice, crisp, curly edges. Okay, you can get that point in and really take the shape nicely of the mushroom. Okay, just go in there, be careful with that, just use the point if you need to as well, and then come around, getting a bit more water. Okay, I'm gonna come over here and go around the black spots a bit better. Must admit, doing this fairy theme this October, so if you're watching in the future, it's October 2022. This is my second set of books and themes. Last month was summer, and it was fun to do that first one, but I do feel as though the fairy one is, you know, I've learned all my lessons on that first one, and the fairy one is a bit more, you can tell, is a little bit more experienced now, so I know what I'm doing. Like, I wasn't sure how detailed to be, how simple to make it, but yeah, I think I've got there now with that. And I want to make sure that you all know that these videos, they are for all ages. It's about where you are on the painting journey. So how experienced you are, how much you've already done. It doesn't matter what age you are. It's about where you are and picking up from there. So as I said, my videos are varying between a level 1 drawing and a level 4. Now don't worry here if you're going over some of those shapes, because we're going to come in and do those in black afterwards. So there we've got the nice mid-range red in. Okay, so now we need to come in with the darker one underneath. So I'm going to come in and pick some of that up, just wet my brush a little bit to make sure I can get it to go round smoothly. And we're going to go in here. As you can see, it's a little bit darker, and we're just going to fill in that space under the mushroom. There we are. I do like this one. It's a really lovely one to draw, but I would say take your time because it does have more detail than some of the others. Coming in here, draw in that darker red. And I'm going to just quickly dry that just for a couple of seconds. As you can see, as you can see, the background is, now that it's dried, you can see all the brush strokes. So we will work on, like I said, we need to give that a second coat, a second layer. And painting in acrylic is all painting really is all about working your way up in layers. It never is perfect the first layer. So I'm just laying another part of that down because I wanted to make it really quite dark. I'm just going to mix up a bit more of that. I'm going to add a little bit of black to it, see what that does. Yeah, that's nice and dark. So what I'm going to do now is I want to kind of come in on the underside. Actually, I'm going to make that darker. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go really dark underneath because you'll see why. What I want to do is use the red that I did have, like that. That's it isn't quite so dark as that dark. And I want to just come in and put some around the edge of the mushroom, because what that does, it will, and blend it in towards the top of the mushroom. It will give us that sense of it, of that being the bottom of the mushroom curling round. So do that, but make sure you are blending it into that other red a little bit. You just really light touch of color. You don't want too much there. So here I need that to really blend in. So what I'll do in a minute, grab some of that other red. I'll just kind of blend that round there. So we've got some of that darker colour there, but it's not overtaking, but it is just giving that impression of coming round. I've actually taken a bit too much of it, so be careful of that. Going on. Didn't want to do that. I think we'll come back to that because it's too wet. We'll dry it quickly. Okay, so we're just going to come up. I am just going to go over those black dots a little bit because I want to show how the mushroom is coming round. Okay. I'm going to let that dry. We'll come back to that in a minute. So now I want to use a smaller brush with a point on, and we are actually going to come in and lay a grey down. Now I should have had this one here is like one of the bigger dots. So we're going to lay down, just mix a little bit of black with a lot of white. I'm going to lay some grey down. Try not to get too much on your brush, like mine's all gunky. Don't want that much on there. So pop the grey down where we're going to have the black dots, because we are going to build up actually from that grey. We're going to have the grey in the middle, and then towards the outside edges it will get darker towards black, and that way we'll have a sense of 3D. So everything I'm doing, I'm always thinking in terms of value, from light to dark, dark to light. Always on my mind, because that is what like I've just said, that is what will bring it to life and make it look 3D. So I'm going to come around and just smudge in some of this darker grey around the edges. Just put it where you think it would look best. Coming round. Now, don't worry, you might be thinking, what? That doesn't look right. Every painting has a messy stage. Please don't worry. I'm not worried. We're having fun. Eventually, it will all make sense. So what I always say is watch the videos through first until you've got to the point where you've got a good idea of what's coming. And yeah, have fun with them. Okay. So now you can see why I did that. They're kind of looking a bit more 3D, aren't they? But that one's lost quite a lot of its darkness. It does need to be in there for it to look 3D. Okay, and then make sure you're shading it in. Okay, so now the mushroom's properly dried. I'm going to come in with some red. Oops, that's grey red. We don't want grey red. We want actual red. I am going to use this little brush to come in down towards the bottom edge there and kind of blend up that darker colour. Okay, so it's coming up around here and around here. And what we need to do is come into that black, and I think what we need to do is really black up the underneath. That's better. Doesn't need to be completely black, just parts of it. Basically just go over and make sure we've got the shape, the nice shape of the top of the mushroom is clear. That's the main thing. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's dry that off for a few seconds. Now we're going to come in and grab some white, and we're going to go over the tops and blend that down as well. And that makes it even more clear that they are 3D. Not too much, because you don't want to go over everything else. Just enough to show that this is the top side, this is the bottom side. This is where the light's catching it. Like that. A bit more white on there. There we go. And then that one's sort of underneath anyway, so it doesn't need too much. Great. Now we can go in and just draw a few more in, like there was one here with the grey, just the grey on its own. We don't really need to give it any more information than it's just grey. And if you've got a mixture of the greys on your brush anyway, it will come out mixed and that will look nice. So then I'm going to come in with a really tiny brush. A really tiny brush. I'll use that one. Okay, so there's hardly anything on there. And I'm just going to draw in some highlights around like that. And now you can actually see in the picture where they are. There are some of them on the actual dots as well. So you can draw those in. If you have a really fine brush, it's quite fun to actually draw with paint and put these tiny little details in. And it finishes them off a bit. It finishes the detail off. Okay. Put a few more in. Want some around here. Around here. Just brings it to life a little bit by putting these little details in. Why is that white there? Red. Get my other brush a minute. That's better. I think I will come in as well here and just make that nice rosy red again, because that is catching some of the light. It's not right underneath. Good. Now we have got, remember, some of the lighter red, well, it's almost pink, isn't it, that we mixed. So we could put that at the top. I don't actually think that's making much difference. A little maybe. It needs to be even lighter. Not sure if it's doing anything, making it any better. I don't think we need it. Put a bit around there. So the next thing we're going to do is paint our fairy. So I'm going to return to my angled brush. And I think we're going to give her, should we give her a purple dress? Let's mix up a purple. So take a little bit of red and blue. Make like that purpley, like a deep purple colour. And then add white until you're happy with it. And then you can keep adding red and blue to get it to the right kind of purple that you want. So we're heading down the more purpley pink area there. Don't want to do that. So bring the blue back in. Get a lot more purpley again. Keep adding white until it's of, well, it's a tint really. That when you add white, it's all the tint. Still very dark. I've got a big blob of white this time. There we go. Happy with that now. And we've got more than enough to do a dress with, and I've left a little bit of dark there so that we can put some darker areas in as well. Now I'm just taking as much of it off the brush as I can, because I've mixed with the brush that I'm painting with. It's a bit clogged now, so I'm taking a bit off and then I'm coming in. So I'm going to go use the angle of my brush to kind of define the edge of her dress there. Just going to get a bit more water. Again, you just need the paint on the end of your brush. Don't clog it up. You really don't need to. And then we're going to just drag up a dress like so. That's part of her wing hidden there, so leave that little gap. And then I'm going to come down and draw her dress in. Now this bit's the trickiest bit because that's where her hands are, but it doesn't matter if you go over them because we will do her hands afterwards. If you can leave them, then that's great. Now I'm just going to use the slightly darker purple for the underside of her dress so that you can see that that is the underside of her dress. It hasn't come out very dark, so I'll just try again. A bit darker, isn't it? So She is wearing a dress, so we need to make sure that her dress is also coloured in the same purple. I'm just colouring in her dress and the puffy sleeve, like so. Now she is all the same colour. Now what we're going to do is create some form and movement to it by picking up the slightly darker colour onto our brush, and make sure it is darker, otherwise it won't make a difference. And we'll just, no, it needs to be even darker than that. Pop a little bit. Nearly there. Right, so I'm going to use the point of this brush and I'm just going to draw down lines to show how the dress is kind of going this way. Yeah. And sweeping, kind of sweeping movements, how the dress would be sweeping. Yeah, and there's a bit up there as well. Okay, that's all we need to do for now. Get some more water a minute. And then I'm gonna come under her top and I'm just gonna paint it a bit darker under her top there, because her head will be over the top, so that will be creating shade. And then we need some of that darker colour just in here on a waistline, because again, it's kind of tucked in her waist and we're trying to show how it's coming down. I think we'll do her sleeves quite dark as well to make those stand out, and we will okay, that's nice and dry now. So we're going to make an even lighter version of that purple. I've just picked up some of the purple and some white. Now you can see it still is purple, but it's much, much lighter. So now we can come in with some highlight areas. Okay, just, that's it. Just kind of pulling it down to show that her dress has that movement to it. And we can have some more of the lighter at the top, because it's definitely going to be lighter up there. Again, just showing how the dress is moving and coming down. You can go over some of the dark bits that you've got there. We're just giving the dress some 3-dimension by giving it those different tones. Oh, too much there. That's okay, quite like that. It's much lighter on that side. Coming down into the dark. Just take some of that off. I did put too much down. I like it, but not that much. So we need to now put in, well, this is a good thing, you see me make errors and putting them right again, so I'm just going to put that colour back in there. Okay, so I do want to put a little bit of the colour in there and also around the edge of her sleeves. And it doesn't make a lot of sense right now because there's not much else going on with her apart from her clothes, but in a minute we'll put her hands in and her feathers in, her wings, sorry, and her hair. Should we go for You know, I've got some really nice light brown mixed up here, so I'm just going to dab that in for her hair, like a blondie brown. And then we can always put some other shades in as well, some other tints in. And we can always lighten it up, or we can always darken it. So I'm trying to go around in circular movements, little circular movements, so that as I do this, she automatically gets the curls effect. Because if you see in the picture, there's little marks on there to tell you in the drawing that it's curly, but when we come to do it in paint, we need to kind of suggest that with the movement of the paint and how we've put it down. Okay, so that's all done. Try and make sure there's no white marks there. So we can lighten that up now by adding white and making another tint of that. And that's where we can draw in some of her cars. So what we'll do is literally just dab on. It needs to be even lighter. We'll just dab on little areas of this really light paint. Put too much on that one then. Now it's too light. So just blend it into the colour that was already there, but giving it lots of little movements like that. And then we've already got dimension because we've had the two different levels of coloured paint, different tints. Can you see? Perfect. Okay, so we've done her hair, done her body. What I'd like to do actually is to come in with my very small brush and come in with a slightly darker brown and just draw in some of the lines that were there from doing her hair in the drawing, and draw some of those lines in. So basically they're just little curves like that. I think that kind of looks cute. We're just giving the hair a little bit of detail and definition. Doesn't really matter where you draw them. Can you see that that's bringing it and to life a little bit just by drawing in those little lines? So we'll do some more down here. Around. Oh, I wanted two down there, those don't work. It looks quite nice when you smudge it out. More, perhaps a little bit more smudged out. Go in over the top of those with a little bit of a lighter one just to blend them in. And that's just giving it the effect. Smudging in that brown. There we go. This one needs smudging in a bit more with a lighter colour because I went a bit heavy there. Heavy-handed. Right. Okay, I'm happy with her hair now. Now we need to focus on her face. So just try and pick a nice colour for her face. Now I tend to mix red and yellow to make kind of a peachy colour. Okay, so I've just mixed red and yellow and then I add white and it becomes almost a peachy colour. And just added a bit more yellow there, but it's gone a bit too much, too dark, so we just add more white in until we get to the skin tone colour that we're happy with. Just keep adding that white. As you can see, it's becoming more of a natural skin tone colour now. So red, yellow, and add in your white. Obviously, it depends what skin tone colour you're going for. I think that's fine. coming in. I'll draw her a really nice round head. There we go. Now she's also got her arms showing, which we now need to put in to make the dress make sense. Yep, so that's all making sense now. Just looked like there were big gaps there before, didn't it? Yeah, so we do also need to draw in or give an impression of like facial features. So I'm just going to try and mix slightly darker colour. I've just added a bit more yellow to our skin tone, and I'm going to get the really fine brush, and I just want to use the same colour, just a bit darker. Okay, and I'm going to go in and I'm just gonna, can you even see that? You can just about see it, which is fine. That's how I would prefer it, because we don't want, good, we don't want too much emphasis on the facial features, because it would kind of take the focus away from the overall image if you were too focused on that. I think I need to add a bit more. And a little mouth. We may have to actually make that darker. Didn't like her nose. I think her nose needs to be pinkier. Got a pink here. Let's just put her a little nose in. That's cute. And we'll do her little blush cheeks. Nice. Although they're not in the same place. That's better. She had wonky blush cheeks. And then we can give her a little mouth in pink as well. And I think she's pretty much there. We don't want to do too much else because we don't want to ruin it. She's got kind of those sleepy little eyes going on. I just want to make sure that we have got those drawn in properly. Yeah, that'll do. We don't need to do anything else. We don't want to ruin it. So we now need to do her wings. I think we're going to stick with purple, but we're going to go with a really white purple. We did make a really white purple earlier, but this is going to be even more so. I think it will be nice that her wings kind of match her dress a little bit. Quite a bit of white there. We want it to be like an almost white purple. Right, so I'm going to swap over to my very small angle brush, and I've made a really pale purple. So I've just added more white to the purple I'd already made. Oops. Coming in. Try not to get it on her dress, otherwise you'll be able to see that you've painted that after. And it's nice that it's still that purple, but it's not in your face. It's not taking away from the rest of the painting. The feathers are just supposed to be, not feathers, the wings, I keep calling them feathers. The wings should just be in the background, delicate like feathers. I think that's why I'm visualizing them as like little delicate feathers. And then she's got a bit of wing popping out there at the bottom. Okay, and then we can come in with a slightly darker paint on the edge. No, that's going to be too dark. And we're just going to draw some lines in with our nice angle brush. If you can get one, I recommend. I literally paint so much with these. I love them. They just give such nice shapes off, and then really nice straight lines when you need them. Just do a few more down there. I'm just going to smudge that in a bit because I don't really want them to be perfect lines. There. I just want them to be like delicate little wings. Okay, still lots to do. So this is a level 4. It will keep you busy. So we're going to mix in. We've got a really light grey, and that's what I'm coming in to do the clouds in. And as I'm doing it, I'm just creating, well, I'm going to go around that edge first. Make sure I get that right. And then I'm just filling it in to start with, and I will create shape in a minute with various shades, tints of colour. I'm coming in now with a slightly darker one, and I'm just spinning my brush around. Another nice little tip. Okay, oh no, that didn't go too well. There we go. And another one there. Okay, and it just gives the idea of it being a cloud that's made up of all these different greys. I'll go in with this one. So again, use your angle brush to get into those little places where you don't want to go over. You just want some neatness. So I'm going to come around and draw a bit more of a cloud there. Okay, I'm going to come in, just draw in. Whoops, see, be careful of her dress. Some darker clouds. And then down here, we'll have another one, but the whole thing will be darker down here because it's all hidden away. Good. Some more colour in there. Try and make it blended in smooth. You don't want it to look too patchy. Come in with the other lighter colour. Yeah. Okay. We'll come up here as well. Just put a bit more colour in there. That looks messy. Not happy with that. That's better. Yeah, good. Okay. Just going to come in. There's still too much white showing there. Just going to come in with a bit more grey and just make sure there's no white marks left. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, before I do the mushroom part that's in the foreground, I'm going to do the background again. Okay. So I'm going to use an angled brush to go over it, but one of my bigger ones. Okay, so slightly bigger. And I'm also going to add more white. I think we'll lighten that sky up. It's quite dark. So I'm going to lighten it up this time when we go over. So it's going to be a lot lighter. I prefer that. So we're going to go over the old sky. It doesn't matter if some of it's still poking through. That actually helps to make it a bit more real. And it does mean we're going to have to be very careful going around our fairy now, because I've made that choice to change a colour. But don't worry too much because you already have the colour underneath, so it's okay. Bit more water to my mixture. Get that paint down, fill in all those white bits, make sure there's not too many strokes to be seen. A few is okay, but yeah, that's looking much better. Come around the edge there. We can also tidy that up when we actually come in and draw the bottom part of the mushroom. So I'm coming around the clouds. Once I've done that, I then blend it in. Some more water. Make sure you're able to blow the paint round well. If it's getting sticky, you need to get some water on your brush. Otherwise you'll start lifting paint off your picture, and we don't want that. Okay, drying nicely. We need to come around here. More in around here. Around here. And then just don't forget to do that top bit here above her head, and just use the angle, try and go round. very carefully all of her little delicate parts. But remember, there is blue underneath, so you're okay. You don't have to put too much colour in there. There is some colour in there, and then we need to come down and finish off down here. So I'm just getting a bit more blue mixture. I ran out. Here we go. Finish round here. It's difficult when the picture is taped down. I do recommend, if you're using a canvas, you can move the canvas around to try and get into these bits, but I'm having to get myself into awkward positions. Now I've gone over the mushroom at the bottom there by accident. I don't know if you noticed that, so, but we can go over that. It's acrylic, it's not watercolor. Watercolor is the trickier one, where you yeah, once you've laid it down, you've laid it down. Okay, let's go into drawing the bottom of the mushroom, which I think should be a brown colour, a bit like her hair. Much lighter to start with, because then we can come in with the detail afterwards. Okay, just do that. Yeah, I think that's the good base colour. And then we can come in with more darker lines and things and make it look more real once we're finished. Once we've got the base colour down, it's much easier to then work from there onwards. Okay, fine. So as always, try and paint the way the shape of whatever it is you're doing is going. Make sure we've got all that white covered. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and just make it a bit darker at the top and pull basically in the direction we're going in from the very top edge and down, because that creates a little bit of shadow at the top. And then I'm going to go in again even darker and pull. Okay, because that top part needs to be the darkest part. So in with your brush and just pull down, and it doesn't matter if it leaves those streaky marks. It's actually really good if it does, because we want some of those. So use the angle edge of your brush to actually come down and create those shapes. We want to go in between the dark and the light colours, kind of create this mixture of shades. And they're all coming round this way, all coming down this way as well. Okay. And then we're going to come in with the gate with a dark, much darker colour, like the door to her house, isn't it? But in my eyes, it looks like a little gate. Do that. And then it needs, there are lines drawn on it, but I think what we'll do is just mix in the paint into create like those eyes. I'm just adding like a darker colour and just kind of drawing it in like that. I'm not being perfect about it. And I'm going to come in again and do the lighter ones and just keep doing that till I'm happy with it, and that will look more natural rather than just drawing lines in. If you just keep layering with different tones of that colour. Okay, so we need to dry that, then we can put the little handle on. We also need to do the window actually. Let's do that grey. I'm going to use my littler brush, pick some of that grey up. I'm going to do the outside of it a lighter grey, so do the whole thing light grey. Get that. Don't have to be too perfect about it. At the end of the day, it's a window in a mushroom, so we don't need to be perfect. And then I'm going to come in and draw a little inner window with a darker grey. Okay, that's all you really need to do for that. So let's dry it. Actually, I'm going to go in and put handle on now, so then when we dry, we can get straight to doing the decor. we can, with this, with our small brush and the basic dark brown that comes out the tube, come in and start to put in some really dark areas like that. And I'm just gonna do that so that it looks it's all coming from the same area. And when you do that, it really starts to, oh, that was a blue. I put it in the blue. You put blue on, that would have ruined it. Well, it wouldn't have ruined it, but it wouldn't look right. Okay, so we're coming down just to draw in this line and show that there is, it's darker there. We can bring some of those lines down a bit further if we want to. It's up to you. But I would be delicate about it and go slow and just decide as you go along. I'm going to put some on the door, I think. Just some darker ones, just to give it that added detail. I quite like that. Darker ones there. Like, don't worry, it will dry lighter than it is. You think, oh, doesn't look right. Fine. Darker lines like that just gives it a more 3D effect. Put some more on the door. One, few more like that. I don't want to go crazy. Right, I think that's fine now. And I think that's now made the window particularly dull. So I'm just going to go in and make that a bit darker in the middle. Yeah, fade that round. So just gives it another depth, a bit more depth. Okay, so I'm going to dry that and then we're going to do all of the trimmings. Okay, so we've turned that off. Now we are going to get our lovely small angled brush. We're going to dip it in the green and we're going to try and get the shapes of the green. I think there might be a bit too much water on there. Hang on. Was too much. Okay, so we've got kind of a browny green really, because there's so much brown there anyway. It becomes a browny green. A brownie green? A brownie green. Coming round. Hopefully my head's not in the camera. I'm so sorry if I've done that a few times already. I've got a habit of doing it, so you'll just be looking at my hair for a while. My lovely grey hairs. Sorry. Okay. I'm going really careful with this because I don't want to ruin it. I just want to make sure that I'm getting it exactly right. I'm actually going to make that more of a greeny brown. Okay, so just felt as though it was too brown there. Right, so then we come down with curl there, and that can join on. And it's a bit the same in here. You're not going to see that one very well, I don't think. And then we've got this one coming down past the window and out. And then we have another one. That's it, it was down the bottom, wasn't it? And it was coming up and around from the back, like that. Okay, good. Now I'm just going to use a round brush small round brush, if I can find what I've done with it. There it is, my little small one. And we're just going to come in and dab in leaves of different shapes and sizes. And I want them to look real, so I am mixing a brown, just a brown out the tube, and a green out the tube. Sap green's a good one. And I'm going to come in and put the first layer of leaves down. We're going to do some darker ones, then some lighter ones. Okay, and we're just literally using the round brush to dab them on. You can do some bigger ones, some littler ones, all shapes, going in different directions. The less patterned they are in symmetrical patterns, the more realistic it will look. I don't know why, but I've got some green in that then. Okay, and just dab. And I might even at the bottom just draw in some of those petals, leaves, as though they've fallen like that. Nice. Just up around there like that. So yeah, just adding them in. Try not to be too perfect about it. More water on my brush. And yeah, we'll do the dark ones first, and then we'll come up on top of those and just do some lighter ones. And we'll also put a few little flowers in, because there are some in the picture, and I think that would be cute. Okay. So now we're going to make more of a yellowy brown. A lot more yellow than that. Stick some green in there. Ooh. Make a yellowy kind of a yellowier green, like a more autumnal green. That's nice. Do that in a second. White. Remember just to lighten the colour, add some white. So we've got a much lighter green going in now over that darker green, just to give the impression of reality, which has lots of shades of colours and everything. It's why everything I paint will have 2 or 3 layers to it, because and I think actually it's quite nice just to draw some of that green into the bottom of the mushroom a little bit. Okay, and we're just going over some of the dark. I'm literally going wherever I feel like it. Don't worry too much. Putting some around there. There's supposed to be some leaves around there as well. Some around there. Okay. Good. So we've got some nice differences in green. They're all going in different places. Now just to add a little bit of pink to those. Do a new pink. We want a really light pink tone, and we just want to go blob, blob. We don't really want to be doing more than that, just putting little dots in. Everyone will know to the eye that that means flowers. Just dot them wherever we want it to make sense to the eye. It doesn't need to be perfect. We know what they are. And what I'm going to do to make the whole painting have a bit of cohesiveness, I'm going to come in with the purple and dab in little purple flowers as well, because I can. Obviously you don't need to do yours the same as mine. You can do whatever you want on yours. These are just decisions I've made, and as I've said, I always try to make sure, well, no, I don't, it's not trying, I don't do any prep work. I literally don't even think about it until I've sat down, and I think as I go. I make decisions as I go. And we could keep going on with this, putting detail in for a lot longer than this, but I think enough. I'm just going to put some detail around the window like that. That's nice. And I might do the same with the handle. Little bit of tiny little bit of black just to emphasize that handle. And maybe just a little bit of black in the door to give it a bit, just a bit more oomph. I think I want to come back into her face now. Face out of everything is a bit nothingy. There's a lot going on in the drawing apart from her face, so I still only really want to use the same colour, but I think I just want to emphasize her features a little bit more. I think the cheeks are fine. I think it's trying to get, where's my fine brush? We'll use my very fine brush to come in and draw a smile. That's better. And we'll use a grey just to do her eyes. Very difficult on small drawings like this to get faces right because they're so small, and you just have to be so careful, because the minute you've done it so that she looks a bit strange, then you've ruined it, and then you have to do a face all over it. That looks fine. I'm happy with that. I am going to come into the brown pretty much straight out of the tube, and I am going to do what I started to do, which was to draw in some definition lines. I want to come back and re-emphasize some of that. Yeah, that really finishes her off. As I've said before, you need all those different shades and layers to create the final depth. They will dry much lighter than they are, but it will give us a bit more detail on her. I think also I'm just going to go over her hands again, just with this little brush to really get them coloured in, because you can't see them very well. Good. And the final touch for me, I think, is I want to go over that cloud. I don't like that dark bit so much over there. Get a bit more light grey on there. Oh, I'm happier now. It was playing with my eye. It was making my eye go over there, and if it's making your eye go over to it and it's only like a background thing, then no, you need to sort that out. And this is the thing, is like you can keep stepping back, taking a look, is there anything else I need to do? Go back and do something about it. Okay, that's what I'm doing. I'm not overly happy with my clouds. Just going in again. Don't want them to have too much detail because they're in the background. I don't mind that bottom one. That bottom one's fine. Maybe just looks a bit messy. We'll just neaten it up a bit. Fine. And then I'll come in where we've got that dark red and just neaten up that edge there of the mushroom. Tidy it up a bit. Good. And I'll come here and do the same. And we're done. Oh, I know what I was going to do. The feathers. We just need, not feathers, I keep saying feathers, don't I? The wings. Just wanted to do some lines that were a little bit darker on her wings. Just a little bit, not too much. Just to give her wings a little bit of detail. I think they look like feathers. I think that's why I keep calling them feathers. I hope you enjoyed that. That's the end of today's session. Obviously, you can take it away and carry on as you like. I'm going to pull off the edges now. Let's see how it goes. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. Please like this video and comment or share. It all helps my channel to grow. I appreciate you so much. Don't forget, I'm also over on Patreon for bonus videos and an option to buy the books and the downloadables for you to copy along. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to hold it up close for you so you get a good look. Just the picture. There you go. Ooh, I think it's a bit blurry then. Anyway, bye. See you on the next one.